Okay. So, there we are. Hello. And the stream is back. Welcome back on MaschineTV. I'm Myrie from Orkenspalter TV. And this is Arto. And Arto is from Random Potion, a Finnish studio, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you have to get really close to the microphone in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Random Potion is working right now on basically a classical RPG.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about it. What's it called, and what are you aiming for?
Okay, so it's called The Dark Eye Book of Heroes, and what we're really aiming for is to make a digital role-playing game that feels as close to your usual tabletop role-playing game experience as possible. So we want the players to, in the multiplayer mode especially, we want the players to interact with each other, like talk, okay, should we take the door on the right, should we take the door on the left? I have a bad feeling about that direction, like, hey, where are you running, why are you, oh, you died. So it's always the dwarf.
What I learned yesterday a term for something like that, the scream at your friends game.
Yeah, there is a bit of that, yes.
Oh yeah, and you already said The Dark Eye, so it's based on the Dark Eye license.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, kind of, it's a kind of longer story. We were originally, because we wanted to make the game feel like a tabletop game, so what we did was look for a tabletop license, because I felt I loved Baldur's Gate, and one of the reasons I loved it was because it used the actual AD&D rules, so it was a lot easier to understand than most role-playing games on PC. And I wanted to do something similar, so we went looking for different kind of tabletop rules that we could use. And basically at first, okay, we don't find any, we have to just make our own or something. And then we had a meeting with Illusion Fields about, they were in Going Connection in November in 2017. And they were like, okay, we have this license Dark Eye. I was like, yeah, I know Dark Eye. I played some of like Chains of Satina, the adventure game, so I slightly knew what's about. And we're like, okay, it sounds interesting, and our game is pretty easy to turn into Dark Eye game. But then we didn't hear about them for a long time. They were quite busy. And then we started talking with Wild River.
Yeah, which is your publisher?
Yeah, it's our publisher. And suddenly we have a call, like, and they're like, what would you feel if you made this, how do you feel if you made this a Dark Eye game? I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. It's exactly what we were looking for, so of course we were quite excited. And then we started to actually look into the Dark Eye universe. I thought originally this kind of a dark fantasy thing, but it turned out to be a much more varied than
yeah. The Dark Eye has a lot of different tonalities. You can play it in lots of different ways and regions and modes. Basically, you can have really horror, and you can have really specific, realistic medieval bits. So I guess yours is going to be very more fantasy.
Yeah, more fantasy, more classic, more like.
Yes.
I use the term dungeon crawling, but I don't like it because it has these connotations with action RPGs, which we are not.
Yeah.
It's not a dungeon, go in the dungeon, kill everything type of game, but it's still a dungeon adventure because we wanted to go with the classic tests. The whole social system, playing like a tabletop game, is kind of new to digital games still, so we wanted everything else to feel quite familiar for people who have played.
Yes, and it looks very familiar. I had the chance to go to one of your presentations at Gamescom. I saw it first at Redcon, which is the convention of Ulysses Spiele, who are the publishers of the Dark Eye. And there you showed just a little tiny teasers and bits, and now I've seen more gameplay and how it actually looks like when you go into a dungeon and what happens and how it can change actually depending on who you've got in your party. Yeah,
that's one of the things, because, well, we don't have a virtual game master or anything, but we do have a procedural generation system that takes into account the actual player characters. So if you have, say, the dwarf in your party, there can be a puzzle that requires someone to read the dwarven runes. So
yeah, because otherwise it won't make sense if no one in the party can read it. Then you have just wasted space in your dungeon. And you're right, and it feels like looking at a classic RPG game. It feels like you decided you wanted to just bring back the experience of playing a Baldur's Gate or something out of Obsidian of BioWare.
Yeah,
That was what you're aiming for.
Yeah, that's what we were aiming for. The classic feel, top-down, kind of isometric. It's still full 3D, but we were looking for more of a classic feel.
Yeah, and for some reason out there, it's floating out there from one outlet to the other. Someone said it's a Diablo clone, and I have no idea how that happened. Do you know where that started?
I think it started with a small mistake that in the publisher's website they said that the genre is action RPG. And I think what they meant to say is that it's real time, it's not turn-based, but it's not the action RPG everybody associates with Diablo and Diablo clones, but it's not like that. Its pacing is much slower than in Diablo. It's not click 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 click. It's like click.
And then, yeah, it's like we've talked about this because we were also wondering: is it turn-based or is there unseen turn-based system in the background? But it's basically cooldowns.
Yes, basically it's cooldowns. We try to use the Dark Eye rules follow the Dark Eye rules as closely as possible. So what we do is in Dark Eye the round is 4 seconds. And it might still change when we do more balancing. We might change in the game, so if it's 3 seconds, 5 seconds, what feels the best. But anyway, everything that's in the rules says that it lasts for 1 round or it's 4 seconds in our game.
Okay. And and it's like you click once and they auto attack the same character, and then if you want to make a special attack, then you have the choices about they're going for the same character. You don't have to re-click. So it's not. It's not action. It's
not
tactical.
action. It's more tactical in that way. Yeah.
Okay. Can you pause the game like everyone does in one of the old RPGs always?
Yeah, you can pause the game in single player mode.
In single player mode. Oh yes, let's talk about the modes.
Yeah, in multiplayer mode, co-op. Basically, it's online co-op. It wouldn't make much sense if somebody could just pause the game.
Yeah. Because people would start trolling each other, and everyone would pause every moment. Okay. And hi, Oliver. There's someone watching that I know.
Hello.
So we have a single-player mode and a multiplayer mode, but it's always going to be 4 people, and you fill up with NPCs.
Maximum is 4 people, so you can play solo, just alone with 1 character, or you can play solo single player with at maximum 3 AI controlled henchmen.
Okay.
Or you can play with 1 to 3 friends, basically 1 to 4 players. So, but you can't mix multiplayer and the AI controlled characters cannot be mixed. So.
Okay. So once you decide you're going multiplayer, it depends on how many people you get.
But the levels are generated, so they take into account how many players you have, and we try to balance it to the actual player count.
Yeah, you're still working on a lot of things. The basic gameplay, everything works, everything crunches along nicely, but how it looks, artworks and things and such, that's going to be polishing.
That's going to be polished, yes.
Okay. When are you planning to release?
Spring 2020.
Spring 2020, okay. So you have some time left.
Yeah, we have some time left.
Are you afraid of the crunch?
Not very much. We are so far we've been good at not crunching, and that's really something that's important to us. We don't want to overwork anyone, and of course there might be some longer days at some point, but we're hoping not to, and we're rather just if we can make it on time. Maybe we have to cut some features, but hopefully everything will be fine.
I think that's very. You keep hearing how people crunch their teams to basically into a burnout. Yeah. So it's very good to hear that you are trying to keep everyone happy.
I've been in the industry for 12 years, so I'm too old and tired to be crunching anymore. But I do know people who are almost revere crunching, like it's so cool to crunch. So we're so proud that we've slept in the office. I'm like, oh God. But maybe when you're like 20 something and full of energy and just want to work on your dream game, but then you have to realize that you can't just do it forever.
Yeah, you can't. You just can't. You're going to break down. Okay, so someone's asking again, hello Newsy, what's the name of the game? The name of the game is, again...
The Dark Eye Book of Heroes.
Right. And Oliver is asking, is it about the Dark Eye? It is a Dark Eye game, you're right.
It's as much as it can be. We are trying to make the game that is as much Dark Eye as possible, and like the most Dark Eye game ever, of course.
the most Dark Eye game ever. You played the other Dark Eye games? So?
Not all.
Not
I
all
played Black Cards and the adventure games, but I like the Chains of
Drakensson?
Satina. Drakensson, no.
Okay. And but you also you already talked about how you took on the rule system, taking the 4 seconds per round rule and things like that.
Yeah.
So are we going to recognize things like that? A warrior character will have the moves that we recognize?
Yeah, we are using the professions from the core rules mostly, some from the other books also, but mostly from the core rules. So, of course, there are skills we are not going to use. There's something like sailing that doesn't really make sense in our context, so we are dropping some skills that just don't make sense. And the others we are keeping as close to the books as possible. So, if your profession is knight, it will be as close, the stats-wise, it will be as close to the knight in the rulebook as possible.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about the professions a little bit. Someone is asking whether they're geodes, the dwarvish mages. In the game, I don't think so.
No.
That's very, very special one. And it's also, to explain it for everyone else, that's an in-joke for the Dark Eye players, because they published a book about magic, and someone at the convention asked, are there geodes in there? And since then, every book that ever came out, people have asked that. So that's just in-game. Before we dive into the character classes a little bit more, Bruder Tjorben asked whether what kind of hardware you're going to need to play the game, whether you need a new machine, a new system, or if you can play on lower range computers.
You can play on lower range computers. We have, on the Steam side, it should have some lower specs. We haven't tested in like hundreds of computers, but the specs are one of the old computers from one of our owners. He brought his old computer to the office, and we tested, and it runs on that computer. So, and it's like from at least 5 years old, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, it should run on. Of course, it depends on on your graphic quality. So you can have like better shadows, no shadows at all, and all of those.
So you can turn it down. And
you can turn it down.
Okay. She said MaschineTV, who are right now the stream we are on. They are very happy that we, without planning to, just got them back in there. Thank you, MaschineTV. Okay, the classes. You have 12 classes that are going to be playable in the game. Have you already announced all of them?
I'm not sure. I have talked about them maybe, but I don't remember.
It
might have been just some private conversation in Redcon.
Okay. There were some that I saw and that I'd like to talk about, because you decided to bring in blessed ones, which is always kind of a complicated thing in the Dark Eye.
Yeah, it's one of the early conversations we had with Ulysses was basically which professions we are going to use, and of course we had the game when it wasn't a Dark Eye game yet, and it had basic cleric stuff, and of course we went, okay, blessed ones are closer to that. Well, they really aren't now that I actually know, but they are pretty interesting. So we decided to bring 3 blessed ones into the game.
I saw the blessed ones of Rondra, which are the courageous fighters who fight for honor and all noble things.
Yeah, Rondra is actually one of the most straightforward professions in a way, because it's basically a battle. Well, not a battle mage, but a kind of a battle priest.
Yeah, a holy knight maybe.
Holy knight, kind of a paladin-like character. Yeah.
If you don't know the Dark Eye, that's the closest you can get, I think. The stream is fine, but exceptionally blue. Yes, we're blue in here. We have calming blue light in here.
Yeah.
Honestly, it would be pretty hot in here if we actually had wall lamps, because this is Gamescom. There's a lot of people out there. How has Gamescom been treating you so far?
Quite good. I've been enjoying it here. It's actually been quite, calm. So we have had quite many meetings, mostly with press, and that's still not swamped with everything. So, and basically because the game is still so early, so we are still talking about pretty easy basic stuff. So it's been nice, and so far the reactions have been quite positive. So that's good either. Not as good also. Well, we'll see when the articles actually come out. So what happens, you never know. But hopefully they like the game or like what they've seen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about a bit more gameplay-wise and things like that. Because looking at what you've shown us in the presentation and how you explain how it works, you have the dungeons. You also have regions that are outside dungeons, forests, but they work like a dungeon. So they were procedurally generated from smaller bits.
Yes, they are. So technically, they are the same. The rooms, as we call them, are just basically bits of land, the bits of the forest that. Yeah, gameplay-wise they play quite the same. There are some differences because you don't really have doors in forest, so the content will be a bit different because that's something we are still figuring out what kind of non-battle content we will have in the forest. We have plenty of ideas, but I'm not going to speak about them yet because I don't want to make anything that anyone could take as a promise.
What I liked is you have a room. There is the room where you can leave the dungeon or the forest once you have reached your goal for that specific mission you are on. And in the dungeon it's easy. There's a door and there's sunlight coming in. And in the forest, what did you do?
In the forest we have horses. Basically there's just dead end with 3 horses. That's something we are still talking about. Is that enough or should we change it? Because it was really difficult. Like, okay, the door in dungeon is really easy, but in forest, what makes sense in the forest? We're like, maybe there's a teleporter there, or helicopter bad. Like, are there helicopters in Aventuria? Probably in some of the books you can find some kind of helicopter.
Yes, you can find some weird things if you go back to the early days of the Dark. You obviously did. You know those. Yeah, no. Brother Chauvin is asking if we will see new videos in the stream. No, we are not going to show new videos in the stream. And one of the reasons is that a lot of the art and assets you have in the game, they are not final, so we're still changing things.
Yeah, we will be sharing new videos along the... like, when we get new stuff that we are ready to show, we will release some new videos.
Okay. Where should people look out for this? On Steam or on
Steam, Facebook, Twitter. There's a mailing list on the publisher website, wildreal.games/DSA, I think was the address. There's a mailing list you can register, sign up for, and of course everything will be there also.
Have you already kind of planned how many rooms you will have to make up dungeons and things like that?
Well, that actually depends on the dungeon a bit. So what we do actually, we don't count rooms as much, we count encounters. So everything in the game is an encounter. It can be enemies, it can be treasure, it can be a puzzle, it can be NPC, so on. So we basically decide like this adventure has, say, 10 encounters, and then we just start generating from there. And then we can adjust, like, okay, between encounters do we want 1 room, 2 rooms. So some of the adventures will be longer, some will be shorter, some will be more difficult, some easier. So
okay, and the whole thing works. You have a hub where you either get your NPC mercenaries or where you meet with your friends.
Yes, that's the Inn of the Black Boar from the
classic.
Classic. We actually had the tavern before we were Dark Eye game, and then of course everybody likes it has to be the Inn of the Black Boar. Yes,
it has to be that one.
Yeah, it will be that one, and so there you can meet your friends or hire mercenaries, shop. You do the character presenting and maybe something else too. We'll see what we have time for.
Oh, okay. So maybe there's going to be more features depending on how it works out with the timetable. And then you decide on a certain mission that you want to go on.
Yes.
And you can replay them, of course, since they rearrange.
Yeah, because they are procedurally generated, you can replay them, and because they depend on the characters, so and they depend on your personal storyline, so you might have content that you didn't have before in some levels.
Okay. How often do you think you can go back before you've seen everything? Is there kind of a formula for that?
Not really a formula, and I'm not sure yet.
Not sure. Several times.
Yeah.
Let's stick with it several times.
Yeah, it will probably depend on the adventure also. The more complex, longer ones, of course, will have more options. But
okay, they will rearrange more things.
Yeah.
And Right. You just said that your personal story can also show up in the encounters. Let's talk a little bit about that. How does it work? What kind of personal stories?
Yeah, so all the characters have this have backgrounds. So when you're generating characters, you create also a background for the character, where they come from, what they want to do, and everybody has a mission. So mission is basically the kind of overarching goal for the character. Something like, okay, there's this big bad guy I want to who killed my parents, and I want to kill them. Kind of things to, I don't know, maybe becoming the best swordsman, or we'll see what everything we can find. Basically, then you will get quests that are simpler ones. Are basically, okay, I want to find this bad guy, so I have to find hints. So, okay, I heard that there are these letters he has written, and they are in this old dwarven dungeon. So I'll go to an old dwarven dungeon and see if I can find these letters. And if I can, then okay, the letters will contain more tips and so on until you finally reach the bad guy and your goal.
Okay. Yeah. What you showed us was for one of the quests, you were asked to find certain things and a certain amount of them, but you couldn't find them in all the dungeons. So it depends on where you go. Yeah. And you can kind of guess from what kind of mission it is where you should go. Yeah.
You can usually the mission like the quest description has some kind of hints like okay, you've heard that they are near an ancient temple, so
better go to a mission that takes you to an ancient temple.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, some of them are more straightforward, some of them are more like harder to find. So
okay. Yeah, and you decide at character creation. You showed us how character creation is going to work, and it works with the system with a few choices where you always have like 4 different things you can decide on.
Yeah, you have 4 different at the same time, but you can also redraw those. So they are they're from a pool of from a larger pool, and then you can also redraw. So basically, if you want, you can go through all the choices. So we are not forcing anybody to like. I really don't want to make this kind of character. So
so you can go again. So so if you team up with your friends, not everyone is going to be hunting for the same crime boss or goblin or something.
No, we are trying to get a lot of variety into those.
And it is presented as a card game, which is a card game inside the Dark Eye game.
Yeah, Inra cards.
Inra, right. And they're absolutely beautiful, and they've been newly painted. Yeah. So just been presented.
Yeah.
And that's because you work really close with Ulysses, the publishers of the tabletop RPG.
Yeah. We are basically almost every day talking with them, at least in our Slack or something, and then we have a weekly call with their art director and with Nadine, yes.
And she's also a gamer, so she's probably very keen on the job.
Yeah, and she's really fun to work with. Usually we just like show her images, and she's like, okay, this is really good, but you have to change this little bit because reasons, and we are like, okay, but we haven't had really any problems working with that.
Okay, she also visited you in Finland.
Yeah, she visited us in March, I think it was this year.
Okay, so there's a lot of back and forth going on with them.
And we are making certain that because we are not experts in Dark Eye, so we want to make sure that the experts actually take a look that we are not doing anything stupid or out of canon.
Okay, so I was asking for different versions of the game. Are you going to release like a collector's edition, or is there going to be one edition?
There is talk about collector's edition, but that's more Ulysses stuff. So I think I'll let them talk about it when they have time.
But if Ulysses is working on something there, so maybe something book-wise, something printed. So
maybe not.
Maybe not. Watch this space. MaschineTV are asking, do they have an official website, and then they would post it here for the chat?
At the moment, we only have the wildriver.games/DSA site.
Wild River Games, the publisher /DSA. Das Schwarze Auge.
Currently it's still, I think, only in German, but hopefully they can get the English version also online, and of course the Steam pages. Okay,
the Steam page, of course.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you're not experts for the Dark Eye, but you are tabletop role players.
Yes,
right? So
I've been playing for almost 30 years.
30 years?
Yeah.
You don't look old enough to have been playing for 30 years. What do you usually play? What's your poison?
I don't really have like one single game that I usually play. It's been changing over the years. I started back in the day with Cyberpunk 2020. And then my first fantasy game was actually RuneQuest.
RuneQuest, okay.
Yeah. I think RuneQuest and DSA have actually a lot of commonalities. They have similarities in the tone and how they handle things. So in that way, I really like the Dark because it brings me back memories of RuneQuest. And then, well, of course, D&D is something I'm also now starting to play, hopefully, with some friends this autumn. And I don't know if I have much time for anything else. I like to run these like almost rule-free games where it's a murder mystery, and you don't really need much rules for that.
Yeah, right. So more like the storyteller game style. Are you usually the storyteller, or are you?
Yeah, I'm the game master usually.
You're the game master.
Yeah, it's my favorite position. Although it's fun to play sometimes, but I'm a bit picky about game masters nowadays. So.
I know what you mean. At some point, you're thinking, I might actually. There's one thing I could do better than the game master right now, and I'm going to offer. And then suddenly you're stuck with it.
Yeah, but we did play the Dark Eye with Jeanette in
with
the
Jeanette? Okay.
Redcon. Yeah, she was great.
Yeah.
No complaints there. So it's much better than I am.
Jeanette is one of the authors for The Dark Eye and the 5th edition. Bruder Chiovi goes, obey your master. So your passion for storytelling and storytelling games is what you wanted to take to digital games too.
Yeah.
What did you do before the project you're working now? And because you said you've been in this business for 12 years.
Yeah, I've done mostly I did mobile games for like 10 years. I started actually before the smartphones with those, the old Nokia and Ericsson and what have you, the Java phones we called them.
Of course you started with Nokia games, being from Finland.
Well, they weren't exclusively Nokia, they were just for any Java phones that was back in 2007. I made 1 or 2 Star Wars games and a Wall-E game and a version of Puzzle Quest. That was kind of my first role-playing game-ish game I ever made. I was a game designer on that.
And now you finally managed to sneak your way into really doing RPGs.
Yeah, well, I did do some RPGs in the middle. In 2009, I first started my first company, and we did a game called Ryman and Hammer of Thor. It was a turn-based. It also had some roguelike elements, like generated dungeons, but it really didn't need to have it. It was pretty much a linear story-driven game. The story wasn't that good, but everybody loved the game mechanics. It was basically like, if you know the board game Hero Quest.
Yeah, I love it. It's a classic.
Yeah, it was basically inspired during the early days of that production. I just played the Amiga version of Hero Quest on an emulator. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty fun on computer, but it's okay, the interface was a bit clunkier, there were things that could be streamlined, so I started working on an idea like it was for the iPhone, back in iPhone 3G days. And so you have the dice rolling on the screen, but the twist is that you can, when we were working with it, then people were complaining, okay, the dice are a bad item. And I want the dice, I like the dice. The reason I wanted the dice was basically because I was kind of fed up with modern role-playing games back at the time, because the systems were really obscure and opaque. You really didn't know how stats were affecting each other. And as a tabletop role player, I really love to know what I'm actually doing there. Yeah. So I wanted to show the dice so it would be really clear what happens in the game, so the players would understand it easily. But they were right. They felt random, and everybody felt that they just slow down the game, and you don't really need to look at the dice anymore. Anyway, because the result is always the same, so we added a reroll mechanic. So you have this. It costs 1 mana point to reroll, and you always have 5 mana points maximum. Okay. So then you have to look at the die. Then you also have the reroll there, so there's a bit more interaction there, and it's just clicked. And then suddenly people were like, people love the dice suddenly. Now that you're talking about it, I noticed that in Book of Heroes, you can actually see tiny D20 popping up above the people. So yeah, we added that quite lately. It was basically, I was testing the game, and I felt that I just needed more feedback, especially because we are using the rules, so you are not going to hit with every. In modern combat games, you almost always hit, and then just damage varies or something, but not in Dark Eye. And so I needed to come up with something that makes it feel a bit more. And I think now it works a lot better that you can see, okay, it's the dice that.
Yeah, but you also have a log that
yeah, you have also the you have the combat log that gives you the detailed information.
Yeah, and the things that you showed us, we talked about encounters and how not every encounter has to be fighting.
Yeah.
And you also talked about how you got a lot of feedback that people actually want more puzzles and more interaction.
Yeah, especially in RATCon when I was talking to a lot of people, the message was, okay, we want a game that has something else than combat, because that's one of the strengths of the Dark Eye, that it's about a lot more than combat. And I really agree that was one of the goals even before Dark Eye we had to have something else than combat. And now we are constantly working on coming up with new ideas, coming up with ideas, even if they are enemies, how you can circumvent them or stuff like that, but it's still quite early for those, so I don't have many examples yet of.
Okay, but you're going to be adding more in that video.
Yeah, we are going to add a lot more non-combat stuff there.
Okay, and on RATCon, of course, there were all the fans of the tabletop game, and they had specific questions, and for them it was important. When is it set, and where in the world of the Dark Eye?
So it's in Midden Realm. At Kosh, Kosh and North Matches. Maybe some other areas also. I'm not certain yet. We'll see where we set this. Depends. We still have to talk with Ulysses about, like, okay, we have this idea for an adventure. Where should we set it? And it's going to be basically the current year. It's 1040, I think. So it's
the current era. Okay. And how was RATCon for you, and how was the connection to the fans of the Dark Eye?
It was really nice. I think everybody was really fun and nice and supportive, and seemed really positively excited about the game. And I had a lot. Well, it was really easy to acclimate myself there because I've of course been in lots of role-playing conventions before in Finland, especially, and RATCon felt exactly like that. It was a role-playing convention. Like, okay, there's where you can sign up for the games. There's where people are giving presentations. There people are playing. There's the art sellers, and it's this is just like a role-playing convention. I'm feeling right at home here.
There's something like I think many people in Germany are not quite sure about how are there role players in Finland.
Yes, there are quite many.
So I mean, Sweden, a lot of people didn't realize, but they have real big international comeback with their games, and everyone knows. But Finland still.
Yeah, there are not that big internationally big Finnish games. There are some games that have been translated into English. There's at least Stalker that's based on the. What is it? Big Roadside Picnic book.
Oh yeah, yes. Roadside Picnic. Where also the Stalker
the computer
games are based on. Yeah. So there's a tabletop RPG for that.
Yeah, there's a tabletop RPG for that, and it's also available in English. I think it's probably in drive-through RPG at least, and I haven't played it myself, but it's actually a diceless game. It has a system, but it actually doesn't use dice. Okay. So it's pretty neat, and people are really loving it in Finland.
Okay, well, thanks for the recommendation. I'm going to look that up. And we're slowly coming to the end of our slot today. We're doing 45 minutes today, so I think this is a good moment to recapitulate what we've talked about. Yeah. So, The Dark Eye, Book of Heroes.
Yes.
When's coming out?
Spring 2020. That's the
Spring 2020.
And as much as I can say.
And you can get it on Steam.
Steam, yes.
And in retailer shops, I guess.
No information about that.
No information about that. Depends on what the publisher says.
Yes, but that is Steam, that's certain, because we already have the Steam page. So.
Okay, so you're not one of those people who have run off to the Epic Store?
Not yet, at least. No. Hopefully not.
Okay, and it's set in the Dark Eye world, in the recent world, and you're working very close with publishers and Ulysses. And Random Potion, you started out with 6 people, and now how many are you?
We are now 10 people.
10 people, yes. So you're actually a very small company.
Yeah, small. Well, my first company was 2 people, so it feels like a really big company to me.
And how do you decide which people to get for your company to work on that? Do you test whether they are actually role players?
We do ask in every job interview. Do you play tabletop role playing games? Some have, some do, some don't. Most of them are like, I think everybody who works at our company is at least interested in tabletop role playing games, and we have had a couple of sessions of the Dark Eye, of course. At work, so and we are looking to do that a little bit more. But now that we are 10 people, we need to like talk about how we divide it. Do we have two game masters or
so
because one game master and 9 players is just way too much.
Oh yes, that's going to be. You can do it, but everyone has to be very silent.
Yes.
Okay, and one last thing I would like to say again, because it's out there. It is not a Diablo clone game. It looks and it feels like a classic RPG.
Yes, and it's not an MMO.
Yeah. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And talking with us about role-playing and Finnish gaming and about the Dark Eye Book of Heroes. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of this. And last thing, just hard facts that we didn't talk. We talked about classes and how that works. Yeah. Races. You can play humans.
Humans, dwarves, elves, elves.
Okay.
So all the basic 4.
The standard 4, Standard folk, the pretty folk.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. And we're going to go into a break, I think, and then and we're going to get a little bit of air. We're sitting here in something, they call it the aquarium, because there's a huge plexiglass window. And
I think it's technically a terrarium.
Terrarium, yeah, it's more like a terrarium.
They are also quite hot places.
Okay, thank you so much, and I'm signing off. Goodbye.
Bye.